Hey everybody, it's Tim McAmis. I'm going to give you a little heads up here on the project we're getting ready to start on. Justin and I have been working on some ideas for a new video series, and we're going to start this evening on a fabrication series. So this is going to be a pretty long-running group of videos. I think altogether we may have 30 or more by the time we're done, but we're going to take you through the process from start to finish on tubing selection, plate selection, tools to use, fitment, proper welding techniques for all the different materials we use, from 4130 to titanium to aluminum to stainless. We're going to go through everything. So it's going to be fairly involved, and we're kind of going to chop it up into shorter episodes so it's a little easier to digest. But tonight we're going to be going over just some basic tubing terminology and tubing selection and sizes. So if you can see this behind me, this is our tubing rack in the shop here, and you can see it's loaded full of 4130 tubing. There's a lot of different stuff in here. So there's 4130. The top is all full of titanium. This side is all aluminum, and we've got aluminum solid, we've got aluminum tubing, we've got every kind of configuration of plate and bar stock you can imagine. A lot of this stuff is used in our CNC machine, so we've got all different types of widths and thicknesses. Just to keep the scrap to a minimum, we've got to keep a lot of different sizes. But I want to start off talking about tubing. 4130 tubing comes from a lot of different manufacturers. We will only accept domestic tubing. And if you've watched any of our other videos, you can get the gist that I only deal with USA manufacturers. So this material comes from everywhere, and there's a lot of this junk coming from China that is imported 4130 tubing, which is not even close to the same quality. So we have all this for sale on our site in various lengths, but if you're buying it from anywhere, if you're buying it from your local chassis shop or you're buying it online from a distributor, I would suggest checking on the country of origin. So like I said, we only accept domestic tubing, so we're only, we will, even on a large order, we'll only accept every length and wall thickness from a domestic manufacturer, meaning made in the US. So, and even though we call out that requirement when we order it, we still have to check it, because a lot of times these companies, they'll slip in a size that they may not have, and they'll try to slip in some Chinese shit or some overseas crap that's not up to our standards. So if you're buying this, definitely check. It's worthwhile to find out where it's coming from. Now there are some decent qualities that come, from Germany and generally in Europe and stuff, but really there's plenty of supply in the U.S. and there are several good quality mills that make this material. So buy USA and support these companies that are building this stuff over here. So anyway, all of this stuff that we have is a variety of ODs and a variety of wall thicknesses. So chromoly tubing is mostly called out by its OD first and its wall thickness. So for instance, you might be looking at this section here where we have some 1 1/4, some 1 3/8, and some 1 1/2. So this particular size here, this would be 1 1/2 065, meaning that the outside diameter is going to be 1 1/2 inches, and the wall thickness is going to be 065, 0.065. So the easiest way to check this, now you can check chromoly tubing a couple different ways. It will always be marked on the outside, but you can even see some of this stuff. You can see some markings on here, but the oil on the tubing on the outside will mostly, this one here, it's going to probably be in there pretty tight, but so, okay, so this is a Plymouth tube, so this is a really good quality Plymouth material here. And it's calling out that it's 4130 condition N, meaning it's normalized. And you can see here that it's 1 1/4 by 0.95, so the 95 is cut off. Now this will be in several areas in a row here going down this tube. So if I pull it out farther, there'll be more markings on there. But this is a really good marking that hasn't been wiped off yet. If you hit this with a little acetone or anything, it'll knock that right off there. But like I said, a lot of times the oil that's on the outside of the tubing and the tubes rubbing together in the bundle will have already wiped it off. So then you can just you use a standard pair of calipers to check the OD. So you can see this is right on 1.25 1.250. Now the wall thickness of this is 0.95, but I'll see how close we can get it. There's going to be a burr on here, so you can see that is 94.5 or so, but there's probably just, there you go, there's 96, 95.5. So when you're checking the wall thickness, you always want to make sure that there's no burrs on the end of the tube. So in building these cars, you know, to make it to the spec, like the 25-1 spec, it's the cab of the car, the cab of the chassis, is going to have specific ODs and wall thickness for minimums, meaning that it can't be any smaller OD and it can't be any thinner wall. So it's important to know what you're putting into the chassis when you're building it. So for instance, you'll have 1 5/8 083 here. You want to check it because the tolerance level for a lot of the import tubing is not even close to what the domestic manufacturers have. So, you know, when these cars are done, they get, to get a tag put on them, they have to be sonic checked. They have to be checked with a thickness checker to make sure that the tubing is the right wall thickness. So you want to make sure that you don't get some tubing in there that is maybe not built up to the same standard and it's too thin, so when the chassis is done and it's being checked by one of the tech guys to try to get your NHRA sticker on it, you don't have any problems with it being too thin. So again, you know, it's important to check this stuff when it comes in or when you get it. All this tubing will have paperwork with it too, so when it comes into us, it's all got documentation on it as to what the manufacturer is, what size it is, what run number it is, when it was produced. So there's lots of information that comes with it. But we have this all available and you can buy it in 1 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, anything up to 8 feet will ship. Standard UPS shipment will take up to 96 inches. But if you need longer than this, Chromoly, so Chromoly comes in what they call random lengths, and those are done from 17 to 21 feet. So when you order this, if we order a particular run, it'll come in anywhere from 17 feet to 21 feet long. So you might get a run in this week that's 18 feet, and the next week you order it, it might be all 20-foot pieces. So it just depends on the run of tube they're making and where they cut it off. So these can be anywhere from 17 to 21 feet long. But you can see we got lots of different sizes here. I mean, we go from 1/4 inch, so this is all our 4130. Everything up above this is titanium. So you got 1/4 inch and 5/16 and 3/8, and then you go to 1/2 inch here, and you got 1/2 inch 049, 1/2 inch 058, 5/8 058. Then you go into the 3/4 up to 7/8. Our tubing rack is set up to get bigger as it goes down. So you get your 3/4 and 7/8 sizes, and you get into 1 inch here, and then 1.25 inch, 1 3/8, 1.5 inch in various thicknesses, and then 1 5/8 083, 1 5/8 065. And then we have all kinds of different sizes of square tubing and rectangular tubing. Those are overstocks on the bottom. Same way goes for the titanium. The titanium comes the same way. It comes in a little shorter lengths. Most of the time it'll be in 12-foot lengths, but it's measured in the same way. So the OD and the wall thickness will call out what tube it is. And if you skip over to aluminum, you're going to have the same type of deal. You'll have an OD followed by a wall thickness, And we don't make a lot of stuff out of aluminum tubing, so you see we do have a little small supply, but we do have some solids to turn some parts down in. And then all of our square and rectangular and all of our bar stock that's solid for the machined parts. So it's important to know what you're talking about and what size you need. So when you're building your chassis, you have the right size tube, whether you're doing an actual structural member of the chassis or a lot of this small stuff like this 1/2 inch and 5/8 and 1/4 inch, that's all used for small mounting components, mounting the steering column, mounting the seat. There's tons of uses for this stuff when you get the main part of the chassis done. So again, if you ever have any questions on this stuff, you can call up and talk to our guys and they'll be glad to help you out with it. But if you need small pieces of tubing all the way up to full lengths, we can ship full lengths by truck line, and up to 8 feet we can cut and ship to you by UPS. So that's a little rundown on the 4130 tubing supply. We're going to go from this into some of the tools required to fit and shape some of these tubes. So thanks for watching, guys.